How do you replace something as iconic and idiosyncratic as the GT-R? Not even Nissan really knows, so they just keep on refining it. A new splitter here, a couple of horsepower there, tiny invisible details tweaked and massaged. For maximum geek factor, you need the GT-R NISMO. It uses carbon fibre liberally to cut a few kilos and increase downforce. There are turbos from the GT3 Racer for a total output of 592 horsepower and 481 foot-pounds of torque, and the suspension is uniquely aggressive. If you love the GT-R, it gets no better. You've really got to love the GT-R though, because the NISMO costs just a $5 short of 150 grand in the UK, and in the US you'll get $10 change from 175,000 bucks.
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
The standard car, which is only 30 horsepower down, remember, costs $79,995 in the UK. Can the NISMO possibly be nearly 90% better? To find out, we're at a freezing cold, spookily deserted Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
I suspect you've already made up your mind about this car. You either get GT-Rs enough to think 150 grand is okay to have the ultimate factory GT-R, or you don't.
Now I'll come clean, I'm a huge GT-R fan, and as it gets older the appeal just ramps up. It feels so mechanical compared to the ever more refined and digitised competition. But even for me, the NISMO is hard to justify. Harder still when you consider that the famed Nürburgring lap time, a scintillating 708.67, wasn't really set by a normal GT-R NISMO at all. That car had the N-Attack package, consisting of, okay, deep breath, 4-way adjustable Öhlins suspension with revised anti-roll bars, a 1.5-way mechanical limited slip differential at the front and 2-way at the rear, carbon fibre front wings with lightweight seats and the rear seats removed altogether, different front brake pads, completely revised Aero and different intercooler piping and ECU programming. The list just goes on.
So no one knows what this thing will do around the ring, and it's so stiff. It might be that it's slower than a standard car for all we know. So that is the one thing about the NISMO I don't like that. And do you know how much an N-Attack package is? Well, they won't actually tell you how much it is, but I'm pretty certain that it is around about £100,000. So if you want a GT-R that does 708 or whatever the hell it was around the Nürburgring, you need to buy one of these and then spend another £100,000 to make it do that. So that is crazy.
Crazy or not, we have the chance to try the brand new 17 model year car here at Silverstone in icy conditions, and I need to stop grinding my N-Attack axe. This thing should be big fun in its own right.
Freezing cold and damp, and so all the things about this car, the added rigidity, the lightweight parts, the much more aggressive suspension, all of those things are almost impossible to detect. So instead of being fully conclusive, I'll try and just describe what this car is doing and how it feels in these really tricky conditions. Okay, so four-wheel drive system, the transmission is in race, suspension is in comfort, because we want as much body roll and as much bite as we can get in these conditions. And the traction control, they won't let me turn it off. This is the only NISMO, new NISMO in Europe, so race mode is as far as I'm allowed to go. The engine, so this car 600 horsepower, 600 PS actually, so 591 horsepower, GT3 turbos, so it's got the different turbos. Oh, and it sounds fantastic, and it goes like mad as well. It really pulls. There's just a cleanness to the delivery at the top end that you don't get with the standard car. The gearbox is so much more refined on this than it used to be. Probably less relevant in this car than the standard cars, but but it does mean that it's more seamless getting around here. It just feels just as quick or quicker, but less effort. So can I feel the stiffer shell and the big modifications to the springs and damp as well? Actually, no. I can't. The car copes well with the conditions, but it's massively hamstrung. You just can't turn it in. If you use a wet line, there's a lot more grip, and then you start to feel something that, look at that, that's fourth gear, just lights up. These conditions are the worst. I'm just going to turn the traction control off once on this slow corner. It's rude not to, and it is a really slow corner, so it's fine. Yeah, it is a good four-wheel drive system, I have to say. Real adjustability. GT-Rs do not drive themselves. That is for sure. They might drive you straight into a gravel trap if you haven't got your wits about you.
So that's a brief taste of the GT-R Nismo. I love the fact the team behind it clearly worship at the altar of the GT-R. I love the added energy of the engine and the fantastic four-wheel drive system that's so demanding and rewarding. And in bone dry conditions, I suspect it would feel lighter, more agile, and just more exciting than the standard car, and by some margin. Is it worth 150 grand? In rational terms, the answer can only be a resounding no. For some though, nothing else would do, and for the rest of us, well, let's just be glad that it exists at all. The world needs cars like the GT-R Nismo, and the lunatics who buy them.